work group and domain. Yesterday class, you discussed about what is a work group. It's a decentralized administration, right? And we discussed about a domain with a centralized administration. And there is a server here. If you see, there is a server, which is our domain controller. It is an Active Directory domain controller is our server is here. What is the purpose of this server? It stores our domain users, groups, computers, resources, information in it. And also it is authenticate users when they log into domain computers or when they're accessing any domain resources, it authorizes the user. We can set up a group policy. We can enforce various types of settings to large number of users and computers in the domain. There's a logical administrative boundary. That is what we have discussed yesterday. And also I have showed, so a domain controller and the client. Okay, I created a user account in domain controller and log into the client. Okay, and also I showed some group policy, one group policy I showed it. So we'll come back to this. This is peer-to-peer. What is a peer-to-peer? Peer-to-peer is simply, it is kind of a work group model only. I have a PCs. All PCs are individual PCs only. So there is no centralized controller kind of stuff. It is a kind of work group model. What is meant by peer-to-peer is a one-to-one communication type. Peer-peer. Peer means a host or a computer or a device to the peer. So one-to-one communication. Okay. So for example, this is A, B. What is it? What?
నా భార్య ఏదో పడతాడు ఏసీ లేదు మీ దగ్గర మాట్లాడండి వినండి
అంటే మీ ఇష్టం ఇష్టం మీ కర్మ మీరు ఏం చేయలేను ఓకే ఓకే what is this peer-to-peer? Simply, so this is a work group PC, it's an individual system. So you can do login and you can use your internet connection, you can play games, you can play applications, everything you can work on it. So already I told this point, right? Individual PC, but why it is in the network? What is the importance of this? Why should we connect devices in the network? Anybody? Why we should connect devices in the network? What is the purpose of connecting devices in the network? To share data, information, right? Communication, to share resources. So that is the purpose of connecting devices in the network. The same way, I have a data in the PCA. So I have a data here. So I want to access this data from B. This user want this data to access. So you need to copy into the pen drive or floppy disk or CD-ROM. Simply share this data over the network. So user access this PC through the sharing and access the data. For example, I have a data shared in some other PCs. So I will access like this. So this is a data shared. Think like it is shared in some other system. I access this data and I can able to read what is the content in the data. I can able to access it, modify it, or maybe I will copy it into my system. Okay. So that is sharing of data. Okay. So we can able to access from other system. But there is no centralized control. There is no specific rule that is this user can able to access, this user cannot able to access. With this user permissions, with this PCA user permissions, you can able to access the data from other systems through the network. Okay. In that particular instance, this is like a server, this is like a client. It's not a permanent server, no permanent client it is. Okay, in that particular instance only. For example, for PCE, I have connected a printer. This I connected a printer to PCE. I share this printer. I share this printer from PCE. So this PCC want to access that printer, want to take a given a print from here. So what it will do? First, it will try to access this PCE with the IP address. Okay, the sharing in it will access to access the printer through the PCE only because PCE is connected to the printer. So C is trying to access the printer through PCU only. So in this instant, it is like a print server. It is like a print client. Okay, but there is no specific print server kind of stuff. It is in that particular instance only. So it is accessing the print. As I said, why we need a network? To share information, to share the documents, data, or to share resources. Okay, for communicating, to share information, like using email communication, like that, instant messaging kind of stuff. Okay, so two-way instant messaging kind of stuff. Okay, so this is peer-to-peer, means one-to-one communication. So one will provide some information or sharing a resources or sharing of data, other will access. So this is peer-to-peer without any centralized control or centralization. So kind of work group model, sharing information, data, resources between two or more systems without centralization. Okay, a system act like a server and other act like a client in the particular instance. Yes, understand what is a peer-to-peer model, work group model?
Yes, sir.
Next one is client and server. The client and server, I will give a very basic point of client and server, and always remember those points. It's always help to understand this concept. Okay. What is the purpose of server? Server will provide a services. Different kind of services are there. Okay. Different servers provide different kind of services. Like a web server provide a web service. Like we are accessing a website from the web server. See, I open a Java T point. There is a Java T point server is there. So I'm getting this page from that server. If I open some w3schools.com, so I'm getting w3schools. Okay, I'm getting w3schools.com page. Or maybe I open IRCTC website, or maybe I open this docs.google.com. Okay, so these are the web servers. See, it is accessing this WhatsApp app from the web.whatsapp.com web server. So I open this NetAcad. So from this is a web server providing this pages from the server only I can able to access. Okay, the point is the server provides services. It can be web server, and yesterday we discussed that is a domain controller, authentication services, user management services. Okay, like a domain related services. Okay, we can upload and download a file. FTP services, file servers are there. Okay, file servers, DHCP servers, DNS servers, deployment servers, mail servers. You are able to send and receive a mail through the mail servers only. VPN servers, storage servers, database servers. Okay, different types of services from the different types of servers. You are getting mail services from the mail server. You're getting database services from database server. Okay, so the server provides a service. And what is the client? What we are doing is we are accessing the service. I'm accessing a website. I'm accessing a mail. I'm sending a mail, receiving a mail. As a client, I'm sending mail and receiving mail, which is other side is a mail server is important. Okay. So like that. So client access the service, server provide a service. Like a web server provide web pages through the web services. The client use a web browser to access the web pages from the web server. This is one example. Actual point is, so I said the server first, client next. But here it is, I said client. Actually, the client request service to the server. Actually, I open the website, then only I'm getting web page. I'm sending a mail. So I send a request to the mail server for sending mail. Okay, the mail server will do it. When I do request, based on that request, mail server will respond according to it. Okay, so I request, I want to see my mails. Then I can able to see my mails from the mail server. So the point is, client request for a services to the server. The server respond client to the server send response to the client. You send a HTTP request to the web server. Web server give HTTP response. Okay. The client request to the services to server, server send response to the client. So client has to send a request and server give response to it. It is a server and it is a client. I said server provide a service, client access a service. Actually, client send a request to the server. Okay. And server send response to the client according to the request and according to the server. It can be web related, mail related, file related. Uh, One second, పర్వాలేదు సార్. ఇక్కడే. One second, guys, just wait. Finally. Okay. I connected my headphones. Guys, can you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now it is
Yes,
good.
sir.
Your voice clear. Okay. So this is about a server, guys. Understand, guys? Server client request services to server, server send a client. Understand these points about server and client?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Very good. So this is a server and this is a client. For example, I want to request a web page. This is a web server. I want to request a web server. I want a web page. I want a web page. But how can I request and how this server understand what is my request? How server understand what is my request? How client understand
what is the response? Based on the protocols. Based on the protocols. I think you know the protocols, right? In a networking, we discussed protocols. Maybe me or any trainer discuss the protocols, right? So, for example, it is a HTTP request. It means you are requesting this web server, you want a web page. HTTP request. Okay. Server understand client request by the protocols. Okay. Server understand request by what is the protocol. So, for example, again I open Java T point. So, if you see here it is HTTP request. Of course, HTTPS request for security. HTTPS request. So, then it is displaying the content of the file. So, for example, I'm going to request ping request www.javat.point.com. Okay. See it is why I'm not getting web page, because of it is the same server, right? It is the same server. Both are the same servers only. But this is HTTPS, this is ping request. This is different application and this is different application. This is ICMP protocol. Ping request use ICMP protocol. HTTP for web access related. Okay. So you send a request. Based on the request, server understand what you want. What client want, will understand by the protocol. Is he asking HTTP or FTP or just ICMP? To understand, based on that request, it will give response. Okay. So guys understand that point? Server understand client request by the protocol. Okay. So when you calling a server as a butler server, okay, I calling this server. This is my web server. This is a file server. This is a DHCP server. This is a, WDS server. This is a DNS server. This is a, domain controller. Okay, domain controller server, or maybe I call someone something as like a, it is deployment server. It's a update server. It is okay. This is VPN server. How can I call a server as a specific server? How can I call? Depends upon what service it is providing. A VPN server providing VPN related services. A deployment server will do deploying operating system to the client PCs. Okay, or a print server is there. It is for a printing purpose. Print it managing printers, and it will divert our printing job to the printers, that kind of stuff. Active Directory means a domain controller or Active Directory servers will do authenticate users, store user information, computer information in it. Okay, so depends upon what service it is providing, we call that server as a specific server. Okay, so all are simple points only, guys. I'm not writing big notes here. Okay, all the points, simple things you have to keep in mind. Okay, if you repeat it yourself, then you will understand what is my explanation. If you repeat it yourself, then you will understand. It is very helpful in any future. You want to learn anything, it is more useful for you. Even for answering any interviews or writing any server related or cloud related exams also, it is more helpful. All are particular points wise only. Okay. The next one is, I said this is a web server. How it is become a web server? I take a one server and I said it is a web server. Okay. So how it is become a web server? For example, I take one server like this is a web server, I said. How it is become a web server? In the server operating system. So you have to take a server operating system. In the server operating system, either it is having a built-in features, either it is having a built-in features, or by installing some server related applications, okay, that related applications, or maybe there is some packages, applications or packages by installing and configuring. Once again, how a server become a specific type of server? By installing and configuring built-in features or roles, or by installing applications or packages and configuring it as a server. For example, I want to make a web server. Okay, I want to make a web server. I take a machine. Okay, I take a physical machine or a virtual machine. Also, like I take a machine and I install a OS, server related OS. It is a Linux or Unix or Windows Server operating system. I install it. So I want to make it as a web server, right? So if it is a Windows server, if it is a Windows server, it has a built-in role is called a IIS. Just install and configure this IIS role in Windows server, it is become web server. For example, I have a Unix, Linux machine is there. So I have different options are there. Okay. So I can install Apache package called HTTPD. If you install HTTPD, it is become web server. For example, I want small application server related. Application server, like a web server come application. I install Tomcat, Apache Tomcat install. Or maybe I will install Glassfish. Or maybe I will install some NGINX. Nowadays, people are using more. This is Nginx, Nginx or NGINX. By installing it, it's become a web server. So it is by installing a packages or by installing a built-in roles or a features, it is become a server. Okay, guys, understand? So
Yes, sir.
very good. For example, I want to set a email server. I want a email server. Same concept. You need a machine which meet the hardware specifications and need an operating system. For example, I have a Windows Server operating system. Windows Server operating system, I will install Exchange application. Exchange application. And I configure it the required in things like a domain information, user information, gateways and all configured. And this is become a mail server. For example, I have a Linux. Then I will install Zimbra application. Okay, Zimbra application, or maybe Squirrel Mail application, Dovcat. Okay, like this. I install the packages. So then it is become this mail server. Okay, same way for everything. I want a WDS server, Windows Deployment Server. By name itself, WDS. I take a machine, install Windows Server OS, and WDS enable WDS role and configure it. Now it is deployment server. Yesterday we discussed add to directory domain controller. Same, take Windows Server, install ADS role and configure it. Now it is domain controller. Like this, by installing and configuring built-in future server roles, by installing that server related applications and packages, okay, and configure it as a server. Okay. Now it is a part like a different servers and their different types of services. Okay. Guys, web servers are there. Some places I've written a protocol, some places I didn't written. So check it. Some places I've written applications also. Web server, how it is become web server? The protocols are HTTP, HTTPS, Apache, HTTPD, Microsoft IIS, Tomcat, Glassfish, NGINX, So different web server related applications and roles, install it. Okay. Web server for web pages, websites management, right? File server, you can upload and download a files in a remote server. You can upload and download a files. Okay. So FTP protocol, VSFTP, SFTP kind of stuff. DHCP, dynamic host configuration protocol. What is this DHCP server will do it? It configure IP address to the client devices. I got an IP address to my device from a DHCP server. For my laptop, I got an IP address, right? How to check it IP address? IP config. See, I got an IP address. This IP address is configured from DHCP. Guys, how to check what is your DHCP server address? Anyone? How to check what is your DHCP server address? Yeah, everybody forget. IP config space /all will display entire information. IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, DHCP server address, DNS server address, and DHCP enable yes. It means DHCP enable yes means you got an IP address from DHCP server. Okay. And if it is showing like this is DHCP server address. Networking on everybody completed networking. You know answer, but you are not telling. Understand guys how to check from where you are getting IP address. Is it manually configured or DHCP configured, and what is your DHCP server address? So it is DHCP enabled now, and you don't find the DHCP server address. Meaning is for this adapter, IP address is configured manually. IP address configured manually. Okay, so that's it. Understand, guys? You are configured with IP address DHCP or manually. Again, no one is telling anything. Is my speaker out or what? Okay. What is the purpose of DHCP server? It assign an IP address. It configure IP address to your devices for your mobile phone. If you are connected to your Wi-Fi, you got an IP address from your Wi-Fi router, which is act like a DHCP server. Same way, my laptop is getting an IP address from my DHCP server, which is nothing but my Wi-Fi router here. Next, DNS server. What is DNS? Domain name system. Port number is 53. What is DNS? Guys, I open a website, or maybe I will communicate with the names. Last time I tried to communicate with the name, right? Like this. When I try to communicate with the names, all communications by IP address only. But you don't remember all the IP addresses, right? So we use the names for our easy to remember purpose. Okay. So when you try to communicate with the names like this, like this, like this, like this. Okay. So when you are using a name, but actually you should require an IP address. What is this DNS server will do it? You send a request to the DNS server. Okay. So this is your PC. It send requests to the your DNS server. I want Java T point I want Java T point .com IP address. Send request to DNS server. I want an IP address of Java T point.com server IP address. Then DNS server returns this is an IP address of Java T point.com server. www.javatpoint.com server IP address. So you can see I just try to ping Java T point.com, right? So first of all, it fetch IP address of it. Then it start communicating with an IP address. Then it is start communicating with an IP address to the Java T point. Okay, that is a DNS server. So all communication by IP address. If you do not, you don't know the IP address of this remote servers. You know the names docs.google.com, mail.google.com, web.whatsapp.com, www.youtube.com, studio.youtube.com. These are the different servers. You don't know their IP address. But what is the DNS server do? When you are trying to communicate with names, the request go to the DNS server first and get an IP address of these servers. And you got an IP address and you will communicate with them with an IP address. That is what a DNS server will do. Name resolution. Guys, understand what it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, yesterday we discussed domain controller. So authentication server use of Kerberos protocol, port number is 88. Okay, so it is I written reversely. So domain control, how a server become a domain controller by installing Active Directory or a Active Directory domain services role and configuring it, then it is become a domain controller. Okay, so that is I reversely written. So you take a server and install a AD or ADDS. Okay, because in the old days it is AD 2000 server, 2003 server, Active Directory, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2019, 2022, it is ADDS. Take server, install ADDS, and configure it as a domain controller. Okay, it authenticate users, right? It is authentication server. WDS, Windows Deployment Server. So same, you take a Windows server, install AWS role and configuring for a deployment. What is the purpose of WDS server? It install OS to the devices through network. For example, I have a lot of systems in the network. I have a 10, 20 computers are in the network. How to install OS in these 10, 20 computers. So how to do it? Take a pen drive, copy the OS inside and connect and start installing OS. For 10 systems you completed, it take more time. So what I will do it? So I take one server, then I install, so it is a Windows server, of course, Windows Server OS only. I configure it as a WDS server. Through the network, I can install OS in these systems directly through the network. At a time, I can install into the multiple PCs at a time. If it is the speed is depends upon the server and network. The speed is depends upon the server network. So it's a very good server with high speed data transmission is there. Faster you can able to install. Otherwise, little slower. Okay. So like it depends upon server capacity and network capacity. Okay. So the speed of installation is there. So but you can install at a time into the multiple machines. Okay, different Windows operating systems you can install, like a Windows desktop OSs, Windows server OSs, with different editions, both 32-bit, 64-bit, all you can able to install from the one single server. It's a centralization. Windows WDS deployment server. You can deploy operating system to the multiple devices at a time. Okay, mail server. So of course you are sending a mail, receiving a mail, right? Using like a Gmail, Yahoo Mail, company mails, like a 70s mails. Okay, you send and receive a mails using mail server. Okay, mail servers use these protocols. The mail communication use three protocols: SMTP, POP3, or IMAP protocols. Okay, mail servers can be built based on this application, like by installing Exchange application in Microsoft Windows servers, or if it is, you can use otherwise Zimbra, Squirrel Mail, Tomcat mail servers also there. Purpose of mail server, you can able to send a mail, receive a mail, okay, through the mail servers only. VPN server. VPN server. What is the purpose of VPN server? I don't require to do work VPN connectivity, but in generally, I'm working on some project. My project data or my project related servers, or I have to work on my remote servers. Like I have a Linux server, I have to configure this server as a some database server. But I'm not in the office. If I'm in the office, if I'm in the same office, I will connect through LAN communication. I'm in a remote office. So remote offices are directly connected with a dedicated pipeline connection. Direct dedicated lines are there between the organizations. So no problem in it. So with this dedicated line, I can connect to the server and I can able to configure it, managing it. Like I can able to connect this private network from this private network using this dedicated connectivity. But I'm not in a both places. I'm in my home. Home having a public internet. From public to private, you cannot connect directly. That is not a good idea. Through internet, I can able to connect to their VPN servers. So I will establish a connectivity from my laptop through the public network to this VPN. Once VPN checks your authentication, it establishes secure line between this VPN server to the my laptop. From this VPN server to the my laptop, not to my router, to the my laptop. It establishes secure a private kind of stuff. That's it is VPN, virtual private network over the internet. So I am connecting a public network. Sorry, I am connecting a private network from my private network over the public network. So that is what VPN it is, which is providing VPN related services. That is a VPN server. Of course, you can make a Windows server as a VPN server, Linux server as a VPN server, firewall device as a VPN server also, you can make it. Storage servers. Different types of storage. There is a file server. This is a storage server. Different types of storage server, like a NAS storage servers are there. Centralized storage. For example, I have a data I want to store centrally, so then people who are having a permission to access, they can able to access. Not only me, others in the network also can access. That is NAS, network attached storage. SAN, storage area network, which is provide redundancy to store data. Okay, like a centralized storage only, and people can able to access the storage data, but it is like it will having some high speed connectivities, SAN protocols wise, block level storage. It is okay. So these are the things. Database server. You know, uh, I have a system. I have a system. That system I installed a Oracle DB. I take a one server. I install Oracle DB application and I configured some user accounts here. So remotely you can able to connect the server and create a tables inside, access the tables kind of stuff. You can connect this database to some application. So through application, you can able to access. Okay. So it is a database server. By installing database related applications like Oracle DB, Microsoft MS SQL, okay, Microsoft SQL servers, MySQL, like that. If you install in a server, it is become database server. The last one is virtualization servers. What is this virtualization server? It's a centralized virtual machines. Guys, I have virtual machines. These virtual machines I created in this PC, it is a local one. It works in my PC only. I cannot move these virtual machines that much easily. Okay, it occupy my storage space. It runs on my processor and RAM only. These are the virtual machines running in my PC. It's a local one, desktop level. For example, I want to create a virtual machine. It can be accessible from lot of people through the network. I want to create a centralized one. So I create a I make I take one server. I installed a hypervisors, different types of hypervisor like a Microsoft Hyper-V or from VMware, vSphere ESXi, Citrix, Zen servers, Proximox, we are a Red Hat enterprise virtualization. By installing any of these hypervisor softwares on a direct server hardware, it is become centralized virtualization server. So anybody can connect if they have a authentication, so they can connect to the server, they can create their virtual machine. Then virtual machine is centralized one. Okay, so that is virtualization server. Guys, understand these are the sum of servers based on what service it is providing. I given only few servers list only. Still there is so many other servers like update servers, M repository servers. Okay, uh, these servers, right? GitHub. What is a GitHub? A centralized repository, version controlling related servers. Okay, Git servers, GitLab servers. Okay, so there is lot of servers. Guys, understand? A servers, different types of servers based on what service it is providing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, only one person said yes. Okay, so as I said, from starting server, I take server, I install a server OS. Okay, so server OS, I'm keep telling, right? So what is this server OS? I call this is my Windows server, Linux server. Instead of server service name, I call something as this is a Windows server, Linux server, Unix server. So based on what operating system you install? You install a Windows server operating system, then I will call this is a Windows Server 2008 machine. This is a Windows Server 2016 machine. This is Windows Server 2019. Okay. So for example, here I install one server here. This is no server. These are Linux servers only. This is my OS ticket server. OS ticket application is running and it is Linux. Linux servers. These are all Linux servers. This is Windows 10 system, not server it is. Ubuntu server. It's a monitoring related suffix. Okay. Yeah. Yesterday I showed one of my Windows server, right? So this is my Windows server, Windows server 2019. Okay. This is a virtualization host related. Okay. So there is different Windows servers are released. So currently is 2022 server. 2025 maybe comes in next year. So but now it is 2022. Okay, even from Linux, different Linux based server operating system came up. Red Hat Enterprise Linux, CentOS, Fedora, Debian, Oracle Enterprise Linux kind of stuff. From Unix, Solaris servers, HP Unix, okay? So different AS400, like IBM servers also there. So different server operating systems to make and call them as a server. What is the purpose of the server OSs? To install server related applications. One is, what is the purpose of this server OS? To install server related applications or packages or configure their built-in features or roles. Okay, on the server operating systems only we can able to check it. If it contains the built-in feature or a role, install it, configure it. If you want to install and run a server application, like Exchange is a server application, you can only install in Windows servers. Okay, Zimbra application, so this is server application you have to install in a Linux based systems. Okay, so that is what is the purpose of server is to install and configure the built-in features or the roles by installing some applications and packages and configure it as a server. So that is the main purpose of server operating system. Okay, what is the purpose of desktop operating system? You do whatever the client side, like you can access the website. You cannot provide us a website, right? So for desktop operating systems, purpose is to access of different websites, applications, development, coding, gaming. Okay, so like that. That is purpose of desktop OS. Server OS is to provide a service by different types of service based on how it is configured. Again, I written these things. Why? Because of you take a server, physical machine, install Citrix Zen server hypervisor. It is become virtualization server. Okay, it's not application. These are hypervisors. It's like an operating system you install in a machine. Only purpose is to for virtualization purpose only. That's why I've written separately. Guys, understand what are the server operating system and purpose of server operating system?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay,
Yes, sir.
good, good. So we'll go next. Servers. We call something as a server, not based on operating system, not based on a services. Other servers also, based on what hardware it is. Even it is not providing or not providing, but if you are want a server means you have to take any of this server hardware, install a server operating system, install their built-in features or roles, or by installing some related application for your services and configure it as a server. So the bottom part is physical hardware and operating system, and then application or built-in features or roles. So this is three layers. So we came to the bottom. Okay. So here it is. In the servers, they use a different types of processor, not our i3, i5 processor. They use Xenon type of processors because server has to run 24/7, continuous and heavy requests. It only process same process every time. Now my laptop, you can see, I use web browser, I use a PowerPoint, I use a Paintbrush, I use it Microsoft Teams. Sometimes I use a command line, sometimes I use a virtual machine kind of stuff, right? So different process I will run. Sometimes I will close it, sometimes I will open. Okay, I will open more, I will close, open lesser. I close if it is not required. Okay, different process, but servers will always process is same. But thing is, from outside lot of requests are coming to the server. Okay, this is a point. Okay, so for that one, the server hardware is different from the desktop and laptops. Okay, server hardware capacity is different from laptops and desktops. Okay, regular server hardwares having, what happened, multiple physical processors we can put it. So I'll put a server motherboard. Okay. Now, some server motherboards you can put more than one cores. This is two physical servers we can able to put it in this motherboard. See RAM slots, multiple RAM slot. Normal desktop having only two RAM slots. Your laptop having a only two RAM slots. Okay, this is two. If you see, this is four physical processors we can put it. Two physical processors, more number of RAM slots, four processors, and multiple RAM slots. Okay, so one single it is showing, but more RAM slots it is. Okay, this is like their withstanding connecting capacities, the built-in SCSIs, built-in RAID modules also there on the certain motherboards. Extra expansion slots also there on the server motherboards. Okay, so next one is, yeah, you are a smaller organization. You are a small organization. You need a 2-3 servers for your organizations. What is the best suitable? This tower type of servers. These are the tower type of servers. What is this? It contains a motherboard, processor, RAM, disk, SCSI disk. Okay, multiple storage slots are also there. Multiple SCSI disk. You can able to connect it. Okay, so like this. See, so these are hot swappable storage. Like you can connect and remove like this. Can I will open this server. It's a small server only. So Lenovo company tower server. It is 2,87,000. So Xenon Silver processor, 10C means 10 core processor. It is 85 watts power consumption. Cache memory 13.75 means almost 14. The already built in 16 GB RAM is there. You can add it more. See, it is open bay. It's a two open bay. This is the bay. Okay, it is a open bay. 8 bay black space SAS disk. We can like a SATA SAS disk. Just open, insert a disk inside like this. Okay. So RAID control is also there. Up to 12 GB adapter is given, and there is a RAID controller, built-in RAID controller. Can configure RAID configuration access. So different tower servers, the different configurations, sizes, okay, different features, built-in features also there inside. Okay. So what is the purpose of this tower servers? If your organization require 2-3 servers only, then go for a tower server. Smaller organizations, okay, or maybe it's a small branch office. It is only we require to connect head office, or maybe we need some to store catchy data from head office. Okay, so you can go for a tower servers, but more wiring, more space occupation is there in the tower server. For example, your organization required 20 servers. Tower servers are not suitable because it occupy more space, more cable space, more power connectivities. So complexity increases in the tower servers. So then I will go for rack server. So what is this rack server? So yeah, it is, this is a rack server. One rack, one server it is. This is a rack server. One rack, one server. So I will try to find. This is the bottom one is a rack server. This one is rack server. Okay. So what is a rack server? So see, this guy is open a rack server. It contains again processor, RAM, multiple processor slots, SCSI storage kind of stuff. Everything is there in the rack server. It reduces space. One single server itself very powerful. It contains more storage space, more processing power, more RAM related memory power is also there in the rack servers. Okay, so that is a rack server. This is rack. One rack, one full size server. But reduces the space compared to tower server. If I want 10 servers in my organization, I'll go for rack. I have a 20, 30 servers are required and more computational power is required, not storage. I want to store my data separately. Okay, I will maintain my RAID controller separately. Okay, I use centralized storages, but I need only computational power. Processing and memory power is more important than this storage related. And I need to save more space. Then I go for a blade server. Okay. So same thing I will try to show the blade server. See, this is one rack. This rack contains multiple blades. So the guy is actually removing or reinserting this blade on. This is a blade. It's small in size. Just click it and remove the blade. Okay. The blades are not only single blade, we cannot use it. We required a big rack and contains minimum of 16 blades inside. Okay. This is one complete set. Inside we have a multiple blades inside. Okay. So this is a blade servers. Guys understand different servers like a tower, rack and blade.
Yes, sir.
Sir, tower server, rack server are the both are the same, but when it comes to blade server, the storage will be less, no, sir.
Yeah, on the server, it won't give more storage spaces. You have to
Yeah,
store centrally.
yeah. Sir. Okay.
So if you go to this, and this is also give differences. Okay. So see, this is a blade server. The power is less, maintenance is less, lower the power, lower priced. Why lower priced? Because it does not contain additional storage kind of stuff. Smaller in size, less cable requirement, majority used by larger organization, modular chassis, low power to maintenance. Okay, so but tower servers and all, see, again, tower is less expensive and cheaper. Rack is high priced, more, larger the capacities, more power maintenance. Okay, so the storage, if you check it in a rack, is end customer only, retailer based servers. So go to rack server. So Xenon, RAM, so hard disk flex. So internal diagram, if it is shows, it is good to see. You see, these are all storage related only. So how many storages are? Blade servers. So one single blade. It's a big set. Inside we are inserting these blades. See, this is much only storage. Basic storage. It contains built-in SSD for operating system, additional storage for extra SAS device, and majorly we configure storage from the sandboxes only. It is why this is a server bazaar only. Site is server bazaar, not showing much. You can go for Lenovo directly, Lenovo websites, or this is server basket is also will give you more good details. Lenovo will also will give details. You search it, you will find more. Okay. Yeah, finally we came up to the data center. Okay. So what is this data center? Guys, to work in an organization, like a function of your organization. Okay. So we need a different servers, right? Authentication servers are required, DHCP server, DNS servers, storage devices, right? You have to run different applications. For example, your organization is SAP based ERP related services. You have to run SAP server. You have to run that storage related one. Database servers are required. Okay. Different types of servers, different types of services, different type of servers, which runs different type of applications inside. Okay. Storage related, mail related, different types of applications running in these servers. You have a servers, but you have to communicate with the servers, right? You have to communicate with the servers, storages from server to storage, and from us to server to network means the internet, from internet to your server. They require a communication, right? So then we need a network. Like what is the networking components? Routers, switches, fiber channels, okay, UTP, STP cables, okay. So firewalls for securities. So we need the network connectivity between the server storages and people working inside the organization, people access from outside of organization, both side connectivities like public IP addresses, dedicated networks, VPN connectivities also required. As I said, storage. Different types of storages. Centralized storage depends upon your requirement. Block level storage like UTE, SAN storages, RAID controllers, SCSI storages, okay, fiber optical connected storage devices, okay. So this is different types of storage devices require different types of uh, storage devices and storage types are required. Devices like a SATA hard disk, SCSI disk, SAS disk. These are the different storage devices. Storage, different type of storage types, SAN type of storage, NAS type of storage, iSCSI storages, RAID controllers. These are a different type of storage info things also required in a organization. Okay. So if you see, this is a sample data center it is. I downloaded. If you see, this is a small data center. This is, these are the servers running OpenStack application for a private cloud purpose. This is IP telephone related kind of stuff. This is RAID 6 configured iSCSI NAS storage, 10 terabyte. It's a fiber channel SAN connector it is. Okay. vCenter virtualization, VMware vCenter server it is. Okay. VMware vCenter it is. So this is some, yeah, this is 6 servers are there. 2x24 logical core, 6 data centers. Okay. This is VMware vSphere server. So virtualization server it is. This is also virtualization server. And these are all OpenStack remaining. So Open VMS server. Fiber channel SAN switch it is. Okay. So it contains networking things like fiber channel switches, normal switches, routers, firewalls. The server runs with a different operating system like a server virtualization related hypervisors are running. Okay. Database related like this. So different types of things are running in the same machines. Okay. So this is what a data center means. For this data center, again, you have to provide cooling system, power supply, backup power supply, emergency power supply, managing this environmental kind of stuff, network monitoring, server monitoring, physical environmental monitoring, physical security, network security, all these things are important. So all these combined, we call it as a data center. What is a data center means? A data center contains servers, networking devices, storages, and application running in the servers, different types of applications running in the servers. And so finally, a separate cooling system and power supply to our data center. Okay. So this is your basic point of data center. Guys, understand what is a data center means?
Yes, sir.
So take a 5-10 minutes of break, guys. Do you have an afternoon session? Means after this, do you have a session? Your sir is not came to
Sir
office.
didn't inform anything.
Okay. Okay. Take a 10 minutes of break. Come back at 3:50. Okay. Then we will discuss this DHCP also. Just for a 10-15 minutes, we will discuss. I'll tell some important points about it. Okay.
Okay, sir.